Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into Chapter 5, Emerging Modes of Business. We're going on a trip from those old-school brick-and-mortar stores to the completely invisible, always-on digital economy that we live in today. We're going to unpack the digital transformation that fundamentally powers exactly how we buy, sell, and operate in the modern world. Here's our roadmap for today. First, the rise of e-business. 2, its benefits and limitations. 3, the precise mechanics of online transactions. 4, the BPO outsourcing engine. And finally, 5, KPO, which is the outsourcing of specialized expertise.
All right, part 1, the rise of e-business and defining this digital frontier.
So, back in the late 90s, the tech giant IBM actually coined the term e-business, and it really helped clear up a super common misconception. People use e-business and e-commerce interchangeably all the time, but they're not the same thing at all. E-commerce? That's just the buying and selling of goods online. But e-business? That's the giant umbrella covering everything. It includes production, finance, and technical support. Basically, e-commerce is just one branch on a massive e-business tree. Because this digital web is so incredibly vast, we break it down into different transaction types. You've got B2B, which is business to business, like a manufacturer buying raw steel. Then there's B2C, business to consumer, which is like a brand selling a pair of sneakers directly to you. But it goes further. We even see C2B, where consumers offer freelance value to companies, and C2C, consumer to consumer. Think of selling your old couch to a neighbor online. It even plugs into government. B2A and C2A handle things like taxes and public administration. It's a completely interconnected digital ecosystem. Moving on to part 2, benefits and limitations. The double-edged sword of digital commerce. Look, the internet is obviously a massive, booming fourth channel for trade, but it really is a double-edged sword. On the plus side, setting up a digital storefront requires far less investment than opening a physical shop. Plus, you get that amazing 24/7 convenience. You can literally shop the globe in your pajamas at 3 a.m. But the limits are very real. You can't actually touch or feel a product before you buy it, and despite everyone's best efforts, delivery lag still exists. And perhaps most importantly, because there's no direct physical contact, you're looking at a much higher risk of fraud and cybersecurity threats.
Okay, part 3, how online transactions work, or what I like to call the mechanics of the click. We all click buy basically every single day, right? But what's actually happening behind the screen? Well, it happens in 3 distinct stages. First up is registration. This is where you create an account, which acts as your secure digital identity and sets up your shopping cart. Next is placing the order itself. You know the drill. Selecting your items, picking the quantities, and tossing them into that cart. And finally, payment. This is where you're routed through a highly encrypted system to securely finalize the deal. Now, to finalize that payment, we completely bypass physical paper money. Instead, we rely heavily on credit and debit cards, what a lot of people call plastic money. We also use digital cash, so electronic currencies, and digital wallets that literally only exist in cyberspace, yet hold exact real-world value. And of course, direct electronic fund transfers to move money right away. So why does this specific flow actually matter? Simply put, it eliminates friction. In traditional business, the negotiating, the traveling, trying to convince someone to buy, it takes massive amounts of time. The internet flips that. It instantly provides the terms, conditions, and the exact info you need. It fundamentally shifts the whole process of buying and selling to be vastly faster, easier, and just way more result-oriented.
Which brings us to part 4, the outsourcing engine, BPO, and how it powers operations right behind the scenes.
All right, so now that we have a solid grasp on the front end of consumer sales, how do these massive e-businesses actually keep their operations running globally? Well, they rely on business process outsourcing, or BPO. This is when an organization hires an external company to perform peripheral, non-core tasks. Think about a huge retail clothing brand. Their main goal, their core business, is designing and making clothes, not necessarily running a massive IT help desk. So they outsource that to external experts to minimize their costs and maximize their efficiency.
And this outsourcing engine operates on an amazingly flexible global scale. You've got offshore agreements, which is where the BPO company is located entirely outside the hiring company's home country. Then there's onshore, keeping the work within the same borders, and nearshore, which contracts the work to a neighboring country. It's a hyper-connected network totally designed to find the absolute best operational fit.
But using BPO requires an objective look at the trade-offs. The advantages? They are huge. You unlock massive productivity by tapping into skilled labor globally. You optimize scarce resources, and you drastically cut your costs. But the downside? Logistical headaches. You're dealing with communication gaps, cultural misunderstandings, and drastically different time zones. Try scheduling a quick morning check-in when half your team is asleep. Ultimately, this can lead to a really dangerous loss of control over your project.
And that leads us right into part 5, Knowledge Process Outsourcing, or KPO. Outsourcing core expertise. This is the next evolution of the model. Sometimes businesses don't just want cheap labor for routine tasks, they want highly specialized brains. KPO involves outsourcing high-level tasks that require advanced analytical and technical skills. A perfect example of this is LPO, or legal process outsourcing. This is where massive corporations will actually outsource incredibly complex, competitively vital legal research and patent drafting to specialized external legal teams.
To put it simply, the main difference really comes down to intent. BPO handles those peripheral, non-core tasks like data entry, mainly to save money and drive basic efficiency. KPO, however, handles specialized, knowledge-based core tasks. You don't use KPO just to trim the budget, you use it to actively inject immense value and a serious competitive advantage into your company.
So we find ourselves at a pretty fascinating crossroads. We've traced commerce from physical storefronts through instant digital payments and all the way out to global networks outsourcing specialized brainpower. So I'm going to leave you with this to think about. As technology advances and KPO takes over more high-level thinking across borders, what will the business of tomorrow actually look like? Will the traditional corporate headquarters just dissolve entirely into a global cloud of digital expertise? It's definitely something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.